Hey guys, I'm doing a new video today. It's called The Most Overrated Guitarists. And excuse my appearance, I just woke up and I look like shit. Haven't taken a shower yet. Um, but I don't care. I just decided to throw this video up. So, what is this video about? It's basically about what guitarists I think are the most overrated in the world. So, the number one I think is the most overrated is Jimmy Page. Now, that might... just a warning of this video, I might add about this video. This is going to be probably a very controversial video, but whatever. And anyways, back to the idea. Jimmy Page, the most overrated guitarist. Led Zeppelin are the most overrated band ever. There's plenty of other bands from the 70s that played hard rock or whatever you want to call it that didn't get the same acclaim as Led Zeppelin, but most importantly of all, Jimmy Page is a very sloppy player, especially live, and he just didn't have a lot of the same pizzazz as a lot of other guitarists comparatively. No, I do like Jimmy Page, but I just think he's overrated, and I think people give him too much credit, especially for a guy that actually stole blues songs and didn't give him credit on the first album originally, like Willie Dixon has a note. So I do like Led Zeppelin, I do like Jimmy Page. Don't really like Robert Plant though. But that would be my number one on the list because people just worship him. Number two, I think, would be, and this is going to piss people off, probably a lot of people that happen to like trailers as their home. But Zaak Wylde, I think, is one of the most overrated guitarists today. Now, you can go into a lot of reasoning behind that, but I think that the Ozzy albums he did were just not that great. Just a lot of formulaic songwriting and just a lot of, I don't know. I bought No Rest for the Wicked for the first time a while back, and I just was underwhelmed, especially the production. But it's, just his playing is good, but he's just, I don't know. I just think the guy's I hate his image, his total like biker trash image, and the people that he appeals to even more than the guitarist himself. But there are a lot. I'm going to do another follow-up video, the most underrated guitarists. But there are a few riffs and solos I like by Zaak Wylde, but I think he's just overall overrated. Now, number three, and this is going to piss people off to no avail, but I'm going to say, rest in peace, Dimebag, one of the most overrated guitarists. I do like some of Pantera's stuff. I'm not going to go into the Exhorder versus Pantera, who influenced who thing. Actually, I just did, but that's if people aren't in the know. But Exhorder were doing similar type of music around the same time that Pantera was just shifting into a heavier style of music. So there's a lot of controversy with that. But mainly, I think it's just the people are so worshipful of Dimebag in the wrong way, and he was good, but there were a lot of other guitarists at the time that didn't get their due, and I think the overall, Pantera were a high-selling band of the 90s or whatever for what can be called metal. But there were a lot of bad trends that came about as a result of his influence too, which probably he wouldn't like himself. I do like Dimebag. I just think he's a little bit overrated. I think my favorite Pantera albums are the first three with Phil, and that includes Power Metal, which is one of the most underrated albums of any band. So, and people that want to say that's hair metal can go fuck off because it's not. Maybe Pussy Tight Tonight's kind of hair metal, at least the lyrics, but it's a pretty heavy song either way. It's not hair metal musically, but that song was a joke anyways. But I do like Dimebag, but I think he's overrated. I think his fans piss me off more than anything because they think that he's the only guitarist that played any solos in the 90s, which is not true. I mean, there was so many underground guitarists in European metal bands. Like Jeff Loomis, for example, might be a little overrated by some people, but, Nevermore were doing shit in the 90s, and there was a lot of other people. So I'm going to go through this list I found on the most overrated guitarists on the internet. I'm going to probably put a link to it. I think it's kind of funny. It's the top10s.com list most overrated guitarists. And I'm going to go through my commentary of each one of them. Let's see how long this video is. Oh, it's not that bad. So, number 1, Slash. I think I agree that he's definitely overrated. I think there are a lot of other people that are around that didn't get their due, but main thing is he brought like a 70s sensibility to the late 80s hard rock scene, which he isn't overrated for, but guys in his own band are underrated, like Izzy, who wrote half the songs with Guns N' Roses. Nobody gives a shit about him. But I think that's one of the gaps of Velvet Revolver or whatever, is they don't have a songwriter or a riff writer like Izzy around to help out with writing such good songs. Slash, I haven't really heard a lot of his recent stuff, but I think that it's overrated. He appears on too many albums from like Michael Jackson or whatever, and he's just not. I mean, I like him, but he's not the best, or he's not as good as people say he is. So, Kurt Cobain is number 2 on this list. Well, you had to really be there in the 90s to really see how influential he was. I don't think he's overrated as a influence, but I mean, he's not a great fucking guitarist or anything. I mean, nobody ever said that, but he's definitely overrated. Number 3 on this list is Herman Lee. Now, that's where I get really pissed off, because, and not at this list, and actually I get pissed off at people praising Dragon Force. Ignorant people who don't know about the German power metal scene, which is basically the template for all of Dragon Force's music. Maybe sped up a little bit. So many effects and gimmicks that Herman Lee uses. He's not really that. He's a shredder, but he's, not that much of a shredder. They play a very repetitive, formulaic style of music. I think he's definitely overrated, especially for modern metal. There's plenty of other players, and even some of these like metalcore bands that are better. I mean, I know that's an insult among a lot of the true metal people. Will be like, man, you're saying that Herman Lee is worse than metalcore, man, or better. There's metalcore players that are better. Oh my God, that's harsh. It is, but it's true. Jimi Hendrix, number 4. I wouldn't say he's overrated at all. He's overrated for lead playing, because there were a lot of players that were a little more together on leads than him, but for riffs and for everything else, for influence, he's definitely not overrated. He's underrated in those ways, and overrated as a lead player. So I disagree with that. Kirk Hammett's number 5. I would say I agree with that. There are a lot of other people that are better lead players, even in thrash bands like Metallica. I think Dave Mustaine is, I don't know, I'm not going to go into that right now. But Kirk Hammett is definitely an overrated player. I like a lot of his solos in the 80s. Guilty pleasure, a lot of it, because I know that some of his vibrato is bad, and so-called, quote-unquote bad. But I like his playing, but I do think he's an overrated player. And Angus Young is number 6. I disagree with that. I think so many people are influenced by him. Maybe he's technically, on a technical level, he's overrated, but as far as influence and riffs and everything, he's not overrated. Number 7, Eddie Van Halen. Well, I don't think he's overrated at all. There were other people doing a lot of the tapping shit before him, as the list says, but they didn't do it in the same way, and they didn't do it to the prevalence that he did. Basically, it's another thing. I wasn't around, or I was very... Was I around? I don't know. I wasn't around to like really see the Van Halen, or I was too young when it was kind of peaking to see the Van Halen, influence. But I mean, you could watch old car commercials from the '80s, and you hear some Van Halen type of riff or lick solo or something. I mean, that's how influential he was. Everybody was influenced by Eddie Van Halen in the '80s and beyond. So I don't think he's overrated at all. Now, I don't think he's as good as some other players, and technically he's not as good as someone like Steve Vai, but I like Van Halen's rawer sound anyways, so I do like a lot of other people that are more technically proficient than Eddie Van Halen as well. Sinister Gates, I don't even know who that is. I'm just not familiar. Some fucking whatever. I don't even know who that is. 9, Keith Richards. I disagree with that. Maybe he's a little overrated. The Rolling Stones are a little overrated. That's fine. I'll give them that. So Tom Morello is the last one. Okay. It says, remove the effects and he's nothing more than a hack. Rage Against the Machine is useless and faded into obscurity. Audio Slave unfortunately picked where they shouldn't have. Okay, well, Tom Morello is a whole other fucking can of worms to open. This is just the top 10. I'm not going to go through all these guys. But they have Hide from X Japan on there. I probably agree with that, even though I love X Japan. God, I'm really bashing the dead, I guess. Well, whatever. Anyways, so Tom Morello. There's other people that have used effects with guitars, like Helios Creed, who's underrated. There's plenty of other people. Rage Against the Machine launched the whole genre that I didn't like, rap metal or whatever. But I guess you can give him. I think he's kind of in the middle. I don't think he's overrated. Well, by some people he is overrated because there's a lot of people that play more proficiently and don't, and write just as good of riffs or songs. But he's not really as highly rated. He just has a cult following among some guitar players, and I don't know. But that kind of wraps up this list. I don't know. This is kind of thrown together just the last minute. I did a previous version with bad audio, but I'm gonna do an underrated guitarist video. Maybe it'll be a little more thought out. I'll talk to you later. Bye.